What's up, everybody? I'm Sly The Movie Guy, and here's my movie review of Dark Phoenix. Directed by Kinberg, stars Sophie Turner, Michael Fassbender, James McAvoy, Jessica Chastain, Jennifer Lawrence, and the rest of the other cast and crew. And in this film, during a rescue mission in space, Jean Grey is nearly killed when she is hit by a mysterious cosmic force. Once she returns home, the forces not only makes her infinitely more powerful, but far more unstable. Wrestling with this entity inside her, Jean unleashes her powers in ways she can neither comprehend nor contain. With Jean spiraling out of control and hurting the ones she loves most, she begins to unravel the very fabric that holds the X-Men together. Now, with this family falling apart, they must find a way to unite, not only to save Jean's soul, but to save the Earth from aliens who wish to weaponize this force and rule the galaxy. And this film went through a lot of crap. I mean, the film poster came out last year, November 2nd, 2018. Then it got pushed to February 14th, 2019 this year. And then it gets pushed to June 7th, 2019. Finally, this month it came out. And that, to me, wasn't a good sign. I was like, what's going on? Why is this film getting pushed? And that was kind of like a little bit scary. Then hearing more reports that they doing reshoots, especially at the ending of the film, doing a lot of reshoots, and that was kind of like, as a comic film, making me feel like kind of uneasy about the film. I was like, I don't know, is this going to be good or not? And that's just me coming at, like, kind of saying that as an X-Men fan, because I love some of the X-Men films. The first two X-Men films, Days of Future Past, The Wolverine. I know a lot of people, some people are mixed with that film. Some people liked, some people didn't, but I liked it. Logan, Deadpool 1 and 2, X-Men First Class. Those films were really absolutely fantastic. Ones that I didn't really like, X-Men Last Stand, X-Men Origins Wolverine, and X-Men Apocalypse. Those are kind of like the misses. And that was like, and that was kind of easy, just like hearing the new reports about this movie getting the release dates getting pushed, and then the reshoots. And that was kind of like I said, uneasy. And side note, this storyline has happened in X-Men Last Stand. The film, like I just said, was a miss. Came out in 2006, which was very disappointing. Not the worst comic film, but just was kind of like very disappointing with the storyline of the Dark Phoenix. And plus, Kinberg was screenplay that X-Men Last Stand, and now he's the director and writer for this film. So that was kind of interesting that I picked the guy that did X-Men Last Stand, that wrote the movie, the last one, then come out and do the Dark Phoenix storyline here. So I was kind of like, very kind of interesting. So I was kind of looking forward to seeing how that was going to turn out. And plus, they said they were going to line up to the storyline of the Dark Phoenix storyline, so the comic books. So that was kind of like a lot of things going on with that. And the trailers, let me talk about this. The first trailer, I was not impressed. I was like, I don't know, the way the dialogue was. So that was kind of, didn't really bring my excitement level. Second trailer was fine. I say the second trailer, okay. Wasn't like the best trailer like the next, like Avengers Infinity War or The Dark Knight. Wasn't like that. It was okay. And the reviews came out, and it didn't look pretty at all. And so that was kind of like the thing, the uneasy, I don't know. So went to the movie theater, and is it as bad as what everybody's on the reviews, what it's saying? I'll get to that point. Let me start with the positives. Sophie Turner as Dark Phoenix Jean Grey. She was phenomenal. She does great. I was kind of skeptical going into the movie how her acting was, because X-Men Apocalypse, I didn't think it was like the best acting. It was kind of like what didn't do it for me. And then seeing the teaser trailers, I was like, I don't know, is this going to be the same thing on X-Men Apocalypse? But I hadn't seen Game of Thrones, and I'm pretty sure she was good in that. I haven't seen Game of Thrones, so apologize for that. But here, she was fantastic. Whew. She does a freaking phenomenal job. I was blown away from her performance. She was absolutely good with the emotional scenes, then the parts where she couldn't control her powers and stuff and all that, with the unstable at the Dark Phoenix. Absolutely freaking amazing. Major A+ right there. James McAvoy as Professor X does good once again. James McAvoy is just freaking phenomenal. He's one of those actors that just can't do no wrong. I really liked him as Professor X. Goes for Michael Fassbender, excuse me. Michael Fassbender does great as Magneto. It's just those two are just really, really good. When they cast these two on like X-Men First Class, I didn't know what to expect from that film. But when I seen the first two, the way it was playing the young Professor X and young Magneto, they absolutely knocked it out of the park. They just as good as Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen as Professor X and Magneto. So those two were absolutely great. All the acting performance is really good here. I say the acting is amazing here. And that's probably the only parts that makes this movie good. Storyline wise, I say the storyline wise was here and there, like, man. The first act to me was fine. Wouldn't say it's the best first act of the movie in like history and stuff like that, but the first act was kind of interesting. The way they started off, it didn't start off like kind of like all messy and anything. It was kind of like I was really getting into it. Like the first 10 and 11 minutes, I was like, okay, this film is not that bad. Then it gets to the second act where things kind of becomes of a mess, and that was kind of the part that was disappointing. And I'd say the storyline was kind of, like I said, kind of messy here. And that's really the part that was really disappointing, because there's a Dark Phoenix storyline that supposed to be like make it more intriguing. And that's the part I didn't like about storyline. There's not much like intriguing or dramatic like moments, even though there's some in the film, but it's not enough in there. Some is like kind of like dialogue talk, like with some of our characters with this Dark Phoenix situation. It just some of the dialogue parts is kind of like dry and kind of a little boring. You just like not interested. In some parts of the film, it was kind of interesting, but when it gets to different parts in the film towards the second act, it just kind of like say, I don't really care for that. And that was just, like I said, disappointing. And what's really disappointing about storyline is that since this is the Dark Phoenix story, you would think that it'll be intense, especially since like it's called the Dark Phoenix, like the way since she's like incapable of controlling this power and stuff. You think it'll have something more dramatic, and it kind of played it a little too safe, and that's kind of probably plays part of the PG-13. But I've seen some PG-13 movies where they go for it and stuff. And they could have literally went for it. And that's the point. Like, I would like to see Dark Phoenix do more with this power and stuff. Like, do a lot of things. She does some stuff, but it's not enough to, like, keep you interested. Especially, like, as a comic fan or ongoing moviegoer like that. Just see something intense. And it just kind of, like, was just, like, played it safe, like I said. And that was just, like, disappointing. Let me talk about the directing and writing in this movie. Simon Kinberg, like I said, was a screenwriter of X-Men Last Stand. Here he's a director and writer here. I think this was kind of like too much for him and stuff. Especially this is a big movie. I mean, this is a big superhero movie. So to me, it was like they could have picked another director, more experienced director that have done superhero films. Maybe could have brung like Matthew Vaughn that did X-Men First Class. I mean, y'all could have got him to do it. Then just maybe had Matthew Vaughn screenplay this film with Simon Kinberg or directed part with him. Cause I think Simon Kinberg kind of had issues of trying to do the direction of this movie and screenplay. And you can tell that in this film. Cause like I said, the storyline was just kind of underwhelming. When you just look at some of the parts, like, especially the second and third act. And the third act had, like, action going on. So it was like a totally different film from, like, the second and third act. You're, like, kind of, after you get through the second act and get towards, like, the end, you're like, this is a different movie. Which goes back when I said the reshoots to the ending part. It just felt like a different movie. And that was just like, what's going on? You're trying to figure out what film you're watching. And I kind of, like, felt kind of like mind boggled at times, like trying to figure out what film was I watching. And it's like Simon Kinberg just had a hard time directing and the writing of this film. And that's kind of like they gave it all to him. And I think that's kind of too much for a guy who's directing his first film. This is a first film. This is his first time directing like a superhero film like this. So it's kind of like, why do y'all would do that? It was too much for him. Or had another director like J.J. Abrams directing this movie or something like that. I probably would have did it. I think some of y'all probably had a different director y'all probably picked. But for me, that would have been my director I would have did. And that's pretty much one of the things I thought was kind of like the things that made this film not well made and stuff. Let me get on to the parts I think that has probably the thing that maybe should have been in the film, but it had to because it was part of the storyline. And it was like kind of the main villain. Jessica Chastain. Excuse me if I said the name wrong. Jessica Chastain. I think she's a very phenomenal actress. I think she's very talented. Like Molly's Game and other films she has played in before. Here, I just don't know what the way the storyline was written. It just felt like it had to be in the Dark Phoenix, but it didn't need to. I don't know how to really phrase that. It just felt like it just felt like the writing, like they threw that in the writing, like we need to have a villain in here, and it just felt like I didn't need her in it. It just felt like it didn't need it. The storyline could have been played out with Dark Phoenix as the main villain. It just Jessica Chastain's character just didn't kind of have to be so tied into it, and it just kind of like was just like the thing was like rushed in during the studios as they were filming. Like, oh, we get to have a villain here, a main villain. But the Dark Phoenix, that is your main villain. You didn't have to have her in it. So that was just kind of like, why? And that was one of the parts. Let me get on with the action. Usually X-Men movies or stuff like that, I usually love action movies, especially love action in the X-Men movies. Action here, it was fine. I think that some of the action sequence was really great. Some of it just wasn't structured right. I mean, like the camera work and all that. And that's come from, like I said, Simon Kinberg directing his first film. You can really tell Simon Kinberg was trying to utilize the camera work with the action and stuff, the camera work and stuff, but it just kind of like, it was okay. It wasn't like the best thing I've seen like from they speak about X-Men 2 action scenes or the first X-Men movie and stuff like that or Deadpool. It was fine. It could have been done a lot better. It just things was like done first. This film has so much potential, and I wish that it was as good and not as like, I wouldn't say it's horrible, but it was just kind of disappointing that this film had so much potential and it could have been awesome, but it just kind of missed the mark. Overall, is this the worst comic book movie? No, it could have been done a lot better. It's still disappointing. Like I said, the stuff that was good in the film, like the acting and some of the first act with some of the Dark Phoenix storyline. Then second act, kind of a little messy. Still some parts in there I still enjoyed. Then the third act, some good action sequences. Like I said, this film had full potential and it could have been done a lot better. And do I recommend this film? I say go check it out. I mean, form your own opinion. And make up your mind. Like I said, there's some stuff to enjoy that I think you might enjoy. If your expectation was like high up and stuff like that, like risk skyrocket, then it might be slightly disappointing. But if you go in probably with an open mind and probably like low expectation, you might enjoy it. I'm going to give this film a C-. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think about this film. Did you like it or not? Let me know. And look forward to my Godzilla review. I know I'm late on that. And other reviews. And that's pretty much it. And as always, if you like this video, click thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, click subscribe and the bell button. That's why I can see you next time on Sly The Movie Guy. Peace.